What if Trump offered Crimea? And Putin still said no. As Ukraine bleeds, secret deals and shifting deadlines raise global stakes. Trump slashes his ceasefire clock while Moscow digs in. And in Beijing's shadow, a Trump-Putin meeting could change everything. Austria's Foreign Minister Beate Meinl-Reisinger has said that Donald Trump was prepared to hand over Crimea and parts of eastern Ukraine to Russia in an early peace proposal, but that Moscow rejected the offer and chose to continue its war effort. In an interview with German broadcaster Die Welt, Beate Meinl-Reisinger said the US president ruled out NATO membership for Ukraine and was ready to concede occupied territories, including Crimea, as part of a potential settlement. She added that Russian President Vladimir Putin instead escalated the conflict with a war of destruction.
Trump has served Putin Crimea and several eastern oblasts on a silver platter, so to speak, and has also ruled out Ukraine's membership in NATO. And what is Putin doing? He continues to cover the country with a war of annihilation.
The claim aligns with reporting by Bloomberg, which revealed that US officials, without consulting Kyiv or European allies, began back-channel talks with Russia in February. The proposed framework reportedly called for Ukraine to forego NATO membership and formally accept Russia's annexation of Crimea, which has been under Russian occupation since 2014. President Volodymyr Zelensky has repeatedly rejected any peace terms that involve territorial concessions or recognition of Russian control over Ukrainian land. Russia continues to demand recognition of its hold over Crimea, as well as 4 additional regions it has partially occupied and formally annexed. Trump has since shifted his tone, taking a harder line on Russia in response to ongoing missile and drone strikes across Ukraine. Earlier this month, the US resumed arms transfers to Kyiv and announced new NATO coordination on advanced air defense support. Meinl-Reisinger noted Russia is facing mounting losses and a deepening economic crisis, saying Putin is running out of time and options on the battlefield.
At some point, the coffins will pile up in Russia. In addition, there is the disastrous economic situation. It is becoming increasingly difficult for the Kremlin to continue this war. Putin knows that he is running out of time. That is why he is now waging the war with such brutal intensity.
As the US hardens its stance and Ukraine holds firm on territorial integrity, diplomatic paths appear increasingly narrow amid growing international fatigue with the conflict. US President Donald Trump has announced that he is sharply reducing the 50-day deadline he set for Russian President Vladimir Putin to negotiate a Ukraine ceasefire, amid mounting disappointment over continued Russian military attacks. Speaking in Scotland alongside UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, Trump told reporters that he's now imposing a shorter timeline, giving Putin just 10 to 12 days to make tangible progress toward ending the war.
I'm going to make a new deadline of about 10 or 12 days from today. No reason in waiting. There's no reason in waiting. It's 50 days. I want to be generous, but we just don't see any progress being made. So what I'm doing is we're going to do secondary sanctions unless we make a deal. And we might make a deal. I don't know. You don't know. Yeah, I'd say 10 to 12 days. I'll announce it probably tonight or tomorrow. But there's no reason to wait. If you know what the answer is going to be, why wait? And it would be sanctions and maybe tariffs, secondary tariffs. You know what a secondary tariff is? You know, Russia could be so rich right now. Instead, they spend all their money on war. They spend everything on war and killing people, and it doesn't make sense to me. I thought he would want to end this thing quickly. I really felt it was going to end. But every time I think it's going to end, he kills people. I'm not so interested in talking anymore. He talks, we have such nice conversations, such respectful and nice conversations, and then people die the following night with a missile going into a town and hitting, recently I guess the nursing home, but they hit other things. Whatever they hit, people die.
Trump explained his frustration by referencing repeated incidents where Putin, after giving diplomatic assurances, ordered further missile attacks on Ukrainian cities, resulting in civilian casualties. The US president said he believed he already knew how things would turn out, justifying the decision to cut the window for any peace deal. He warned that if a deal is not reached within the new shortened time frame, Washington could proceed with severe new rounds of sanctions against Russia and its trading partners. According to Politico and CNN, Trump's early September ultimatum previously carried the threat of very severe economic penalties. Now, the clock could run out far sooner. Inside the Kremlin, the response to Trump's pressure has been largely dismissive. Russian foreign ministry officials stated the language of ultimatums and threats is unacceptable. Russia's financial markets reflected concern, with the MOX index falling up to 1.2% after Trump's statement, Reuters reported. Despite the tough public language, analysts cited by NPR and Chatham House cautioned that Moscow remains skeptical of swift action by Washington, expecting the US to balance short-term threats with longer-term diplomatic maneuvering. Trump has also issued messages to President Zelensky and supported Allied weapons deliveries to Ukraine. However, in yet another potential geopolitical twist, the Kremlin on Monday signaled it would not rule out a meeting between President Vladimir Putin and US President Donald Trump during World War II commemoration events in China this September. Putin is expected to travel to Beijing for the 80th anniversary of Japan's surrender, a moment that marked the formal end of the war. The high-profile event on September 3rd will feature a grand military parade through Tiananmen Square, with troops, aerial displays, and China's most advanced weaponry on show. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov told reporters that if the US president were to attend the ceremonies in Beijing, then a meeting between the two leaders could, in principle, take place. He added that such an encounter could not be ruled out.
You know that we are preparing for a trip to Beijing. Our president is preparing for this trip. It is indeed on the schedule of the head of state. But we haven't heard that President Trump is going there either to Beijing. If it happens that Donald Trump will also be there, then of course we cannot rule out that the question of the expediency of holding a meeting will be raised.
China's Communist Party has increasingly used wartime commemorations to assert its historical role in defeating fascism and to project military might. The anniversary has been positioned as a display of China's resilience and national pride amid heightened global tensions. While Beijing has extended invitations to several world leaders, Washington has yet to confirm whether President Trump or any senior US officials will be in attendance. The possibility of a Trump-Putin sideline meeting against the backdrop of military fanfare in Beijing adds new intrigue to the already tense global stage.